Hello, good morning, good afternoon, cigar people everywhere. Welcome back to another episode of Ash Chat. I am one of your hosts, Dave Brown. With me, Cappy, Fulch. We have Bill and our special guest, John Cigar, one of the biggest cigar brokers in the Northeast.
Hardly special, hardly one of the biggest, unless you're talking about my waist size. But
you take it however you want.
I take it neat.
That's how we like it around here. All right, we are back. It's been a couple weeks, and we're glad to be back here. We have an event going on here at Mickey Blake's over in Orange, which is our home base.
Home base, baby.
With Illusione cigars, which is
one of the brands I represent. Proud to represent Illusione. I'm kind of new with them, so I know basically nothing except that their cigars are tremendous, and I enjoy repping them.
Cool. All right. Well, that was the show today.
Smoke more Illusione. Go Yankees.
There we go.
I'm done. All right.
Yeah, there's a Yankee game going on, so if you guys hear some screaming in the background, it's either good or bad. I'm not sure which one. I'm not really paying attention.
It's not looking so good right now.
Well, it's early.
It's early. Yeah, we got some time left. So anyway, talk to me about Ash Chat, guys. Tell me, what's going on here. What'd you guys?
Oh, he's turning the tables on.
Oh yeah, that was quick.
I like that. That's awesome.
That was quick too.
Yeah.
Why don't you take it over? I got to relight this cigar.
Listen to Howard Stern enough. I think I can know.
So way back in the days, I started Almadón with a cigar society. It was just me and my friend Raul. We were in the backyard and we're sitting by a fire pit. And we've told the story plenty of times. And I said, I want to start a cigar society with a bunch of guys that just like to sip on bourbon or whatever wine, whatever you drink, smoke cigars and talk bullshit, right? That's all I want. Very simple. And it grew to about 35, maybe 37 guys. And I had approached Jay because he did two other podcasts, a beer podcast and this one.
You mean Dave?
So we approached Dave.
I said, Jay, holy shit, it's Dave. Jay's not here. He's supposed to be here.
I know
Let's call
Jay.
him
He's my
out.
guy.
He's your guy, and he's not even here.
Where is he? He stood me. He did this. He did it. John will come on your podcast.
We'll get him when he comes back.
No
you. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
But
he's
Dave,
going to get lit up
Nothing
today.
prepared. Yeah.
So I approached Dave and I said, hey, can you help me out with a podcast? And he goes, oh, absolutely. And then he said, I used to do one called Ash Chat. And I go, well, fuck that. Let's just relive our Ash Chat. And we're here today. We've done a bunch of different ones and it's been great. We had Bill on, 20 plus years of fucking, talking and it's great, and our guys are good.
Maybe Jay's late because he's got the green egg fired up and he's making us dinner.
It's probably
bring us some brisket.
So.
Let's hope.
Instead of burnt ends, we're just getting burnt today.
I like that.
Jay does love to smoke his meat.
Yes,
Starting into it. I like it. I like it.
So it begins.
But yeah, the Ash Chat's basically just a cigar, bourbon, lifestyle podcast. Just guys sitting around smoking cigars, maybe talking about cigars, maybe talking about bourbon, and just shooting the shit.
Right.
So,
Bourbon, can I give you guys a cigar? You want a cigar?
We'd love a cigar.
sure.
Something
I will always.
small
Okay.
from my friends at Illusione.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Thanks, John.
This is the Rex. So this was
Rex.
made.
Rex.
I don't know if you know anything about Illusione. The gentleman who started Illusione, his name's Dion Giolito.
Okay.
He actually owns a retail shop in Nevada. And one of his retail customers, or maybe it was one of his cigar customers, I don't know. His name was Rex, or it still is Rex. Rex owns some precious metals mines in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
We're not having a bake sale for Rex anytime soon.
Definitely not.
So
Rex is okay.
Dion made this cigar for Rex. So this is the Rex.
All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm a fan. I like smaller cigars because I probably suffer from OCD, and I'd rather smoke like 5 smaller cigars and the time it takes you to smoke one big cigar.
Okay.
True.
So I'm a fan of the smaller ring gauges.
So what do you do on the blend on this?
I can make some guesses. I think this is probably a Corojo cigar, probably Corojo 99, but I would have to look into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I like Corojo 99. So.
Yeah. Dion does. Let me back up. How did I end up working?
Yeah, so you're a cigar broker.
All
What
right,
the hell is that?
I'm a cigar broker. How did I get into cigars? Well, I started smoking a lot of cigars when I was in college.
Okay.
And I probably went off the deep end, again, OCD. And lo and behold, I smoked cigars for 10, 15 years. And somebody said to me, have you ever thought about being a cigar rep?
There you go.
And I said straight up, absolutely not. I have no idea what you're talking about. Because you never envision that your hobby has a whole business built on the back end of it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And honestly, I never thought about that. But can we use proper names here for the guilty? Of
course.
Blow it up.
So,
Blow it up.
So about, let's see, we're in Milford, about maybe 50 miles away from here in Norwalk, Connecticut. I was living in Norwalk, Connecticut at the time. I was working in advertising, and I wasn't blowing my skirt up anymore. So I was hanging out in a shop in Norwalk, and the owner of the shop said, he knew that I'm like, I might be looking for something different. And he's the one that said, hey, have you ever thought about being a cigar rep? I'm like, no, absolutely not. He said, well, I think you might be okay at it. You're looking for another gig, right? I'm like, yeah. And he said, I got somebody I think you might want to meet. Come with me to New Jersey to this cigar event. One of the owners of Drew Estate's going to be there.
Okay.
Maybe you've heard of Drew Estate. I don't know.
yeah,
Little
company.
shop. Yeah.
Well, yeah, at the time, we're talking about maybe 05, 06.
They were.
So they were
At the
small.
time, they were smaller. They weren't a tiny company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I ended up meeting one of the owners of Drew Estate, a great guy by the name of Marvin Samuel, who now makes movies. I don't know if you saw, he's got a movie called I, Mordecai. I think it's available on Netflix. So I
shit.
gotta give Marvin his props.
All right.
There you
Check
go.
it out, yeah,
Shout out to
definitely.
Marvin.
It's actually, the movie is about Marvin's journey at Drew Estate and his relationship with his dad.
Oh, definitely.
So there's definitely a cigar component to this.
Okay.
So anyway, I ended up working for Drew Estate, worked for Drew Estate for a couple of years. Then I ended up working for Oliva Cigar Company for almost 10 years.
Okay.
And then maybe you guys, well, after that, I took a little vacation from the industry because, you always think that, there might be something out there beyond the cigar business. Well, guess what, folks? There isn't. Yeah.
No.
Once you get sucked into this, it's very difficult to get out. So I sold managed IT services for a while, and then I had an opportunity to get back in the business. So I took it, worked for EPC for a little bit.
Okay.
Then maybe I don't know, let's see, after that. After that, I was a manager for a cigar company that was around for about a year, and then it wasn't around anymore.
In and out.
Yeah, so that stung. I kind of got picked off trying to steal second base. That was the end of that. They fired everyone and said, thank you for your time.
You're the Glaber Torres of the cigar.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, shut up.
Yeah.
I don't get that reference.
Glaber Torres without the millions to fall back on. Yeah, unfortunately. I haven't figured that part out yet. So,
Precious metals.
make a long story longer, worked for a cigar company that they decided, the company that owned it was a big $1 billion company, and they just decided they didn't want to play with the cigars anymore because cigars to them was a rounding error on their spreadsheet. And then this thing called COVID happened. That made things a little weird. And after COVID, I finally just said, you know what, I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to start being a broker, which for anyone who knows, an independent broker means you get to represent multiple lines, but you're basically working without a net because you're on 100% commission. So that's a little scary at first.
Yeah.
But
So you got to be good at your job.
I had to be.
It helps.
Well, you got to remember,
You like eating.
the cigar industry is known for attracting very mediocre talent. So I just, myself included, I didn't need to be good. I just needed to be better than mediocre. So here I am, being better than mediocre.
Oh, wow.
Love it. Love it.
I'm smoking and drinking, which that's my native habitat.
Yeah.
And, I'm very lucky that the one thing that's never let me down is my palate.
There
And
you go.
the companies that I now work for make tremendous products. So my philosophy is if I at least tell the story properly and get the cigars on the shelf and get the cigars in people's hands, the quality of the product will at some point speak for itself, and it will make bills in my life hopefully a lot easier.
Nice.
So, and that's kind of what I do.
That's it. That's
So you kind of touched on a little bit the difference between a broker and a rep. Being a broker, does that, because if you're a rep, you're obviously hired for the company, you're towing the company line, you're speaking that. Do you find that being a broker and getting to kind of choose who you represent basically gives you a little bit more freedom to represent companies that you actually like and you enjoy?
Yeah, it's funny. I used to before I got in the cigar business, before I did much of anything, I actually worked in a pool hall.
Okay.
And there were some guys in the pool hall. They were straight up hustlers. These guys played pool to make a living and pay their bills. And one of the guys that was I'm going somewhere with this. Trust me. I'll bring this.
We got time.
We're with you. We're with you.
All right, I'll bring this full circle. So anyway, I'm hanging out with this guy Norm, and Norm wasn't the best pool player, but he seemed to always win the most money. And he said to me, he goes, the match, the pool game, it's not made at the table. The game is actually made when you're weighing odds and you're given weight. So he was like, yeah, I might not be the best, but if I can convince somebody better than me to give me the 4 and the 7 ball on a rack of 9 ball, he goes, yeah, that might be enough that I can win. So how does that apply to cigars? As a broker, it's really important to align your company with brands that you, and again, this is me, align my company with brands that one, I smoke, and two, I believe in. I think it's good to have, the brands that I rep. I honestly believe that I'm helping a retailer like Bill with some of my brands. There's out of my book of business, there's some stuff that Bill and the gang at Mickey Blake's, who, by the way, thank you very much for having us here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you take a retail establishment like Mickey Blake's, and somewhere in my book of business, hopefully there's something that will catch Bill's eye or whatever and say, yeah, you know what, I can probably sell this and this is going to help my business. So that's kind of how I do it. So is there more freedom to kind of do my own thing? Maybe, but I think it's more important to create alignment between my company and the companies I work for, so that the message that I want to tell is really the message that they want me to tell. And I like to predicate that truth. It's, I'm not trying to be a dancing monkey. I'm not giving away, a spaceship or a hippopotamus with, a box purchase.
Right.
It's just like, hey, let me tell you a little bit about these cigars and you might like them. And lo and behold, I've been doing this for a couple of years. Yeah. By and large, if you pick the right brands, if the brands are lucky enough to, or not lucky enough, if I'm lucky enough that the brands believe enough in me to give me a shot, it tends to work out. So that's kind of what I do.
Would you say it's more of a relationship kind of business?
It's a very, very relationship driven business. There's a lot of cigars out there, guys. I'm sure you've noticed that. So a guy like Bill or, the owners of Mickey Blake's, they've got a lot of reps that are like, hey man, I got this cigar. You got to try this cigar. You got to try this cigar. I've been doing this long enough that I'm not saying my word is better than anyone else's, but I might have a track record with certain people.
You build a reputation.
Reputation that, I'm not a snake oil salesman. I try not to be.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, my business philosophy is I really don't believe that for me to win, somebody has to lose. We can all get along, and I'm lucky enough that, even some of the other reps, technically my competition, we're all kind of friends, because a retail humidor, you can't just survive with one or two companies. You need to, the pie's big enough that we can all eat. So
fair.
We try and help each other. It's getting harder. I'll tell you right now, brick and mortar retail in the United States, and that's not just a cigar thing. We're living in an Amazon Prime world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get pretty much anything you want delivered to your door. So the hard part for somebody like Bill, and Bill jump in, and is you got to give people an experience. And I think Mickey Blake's does a great job. They obviously have invested a lot of time and money in their member program, and that's what we do. We just try and work together, and hopefully it all works out in the end. And so far, it has.
Nice.
So what's like an average day for a cigar broker? Is it like going to events like this? Is it visiting
it's
shops?
A little of both. I mean, the block and tackle of what I do is root sales. And being a root salesman, whether you're selling Coca-Cola or Elijah Craig bourbon or whatever, it's going from point A to point B, talking to people, making sure you're touching them with email or phone call or text, and making sure everybody's kind of aware of what's going on, the different programs that my different companies might have. So basically, yeah, I mean, there's no such thing as an average day, which is great because I haven't had the same day twice yet.
Awesome.
So you kind of work your territory. My territory is fairly large. I mean, it's all of New York State and all of New England.
Okay, that's
That's a lot.
You know,
a lot of driving.
Yeah, and you try and work your territory so that you can see shop A, B, C, D in the same day, and maybe at night you've got an event at E. And you work it that way. But then, then what keeps you on your toes is, hey, I'm managing 5 different brands and I may, have to be in New York this week. So I got to, break it down and go to New York and see some shops in New York. But I would have been in Connecticut this week. And so you're moving stuff around. My calendar is like a constant Rubik's Cube.
It's a living document.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's constantly in motion.
How many brands do you represent?
Right now it's 5. So tonight I'm here representing Illusione. I also do Aganorsa Leaf.
Nice.
I do 724, which is the oldest registered cigar trademark in the United States, done by a friend of mine, Kurt Kendall, out of Twin Smoke Shop in Londonderry, New Hampshire.
Great cigar.
They great
Yeah.
cigars.
I don't think I've had that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
Oh, it's good.
Good smoke. Real good
I'll try
smoke.
it.
Yeah. I'll give you one before the end. I'm sure I've got some 724 that we can hook you up with. Toscano and Avanti, which is kind of a horse.
I like Toscano.
Yeah, a horse of a different color.
That one snuck up on me, Toscano.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm a traditional cigar guy, so Toscano, to just look at it and just eyeball it.
They're ugly.
They're not even ugly. It's just I see a lot of flavored stuff, and
that's true
for
too,
me, for my personal taste. Flavored tag, I'm out. That's just not. That's not what I gravitate towards. But what I found out with the Toscano and the Avanti stuff is the cigars are absolutely indestructible.
Yeah.
So
they don't need to be humidified or anything.
Throw them in your glove box and forget about it. Yeah.
20 degrees, 90 degrees. Doesn't matter. They're fine. And there is a lot of stuff that they do. Their curing is different. They do a wet curing, and that's what actually locks the oils in so that the cigars aren't drying out. But there are some stuff that, I mean, they don't taste exactly like a traditional Caribbean cigar, but the non-flavored stuff, it's got some really good flavors going on. And so it's like, you know what? While I'm stuck in traffic or while I'm fishing or riding the bike, that's the other thing on the motorcycle too. Guys that ride, they like the Toscanos because, again, in the saddlebag, whatever.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Just go.
Yeah. And then 724. Oh, Noel Rojas, dear friend of mine.
Super guy.
Who I absolutely love. He's just a really, really talented, up-and-coming guy in the tobacco business. I mentioned Aganorsa Leaf. Aganorsa is the largest grower of tobacco in Nicaragua. So I guess what I would say is I've been very lucky.
Awesome.
I'm very lucky. I rep some really, really solid lines.
Absolutely.
And they, as long as you put one foot in front of the other and don't piss somebody off, generally the numbers tend to work out.
Right.
There you go.
Do you have a favorite?
Do I have a favorite?
What's your favorite kid?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's kind of like trying to...
You can plead the fifth if you want.
No, I won't plead the fifth, but I couldn't pick a favorite brand or a favorite cigar from a favorite brand, but I can tell you that for Illusione, I gravitate towards their Epernay.
Okay.
I really like that Epernay blend. It's something unique because that cigar doesn't have any Ligero in it. And I don't know if you know what Ligero is. You guys know what Ligero is, but in case anybody's listening that doesn't know what Ligero is, that's the topmost, they call it a priming. It's basically the leaves from the top of the plant. They're smaller, they're thicker, but they get the most sun. So that's the component tobacco that you would use in a cigar to give its cigar some real strength, some backbone. The Epernay doesn't have any Ligero.
Okay.
So he's using all lower priming tobaccos, probably I'm guessing it's probably a higher priming Viso, which is the middle of the plant.
Yep.
He's probably using a higher priming Viso or a middle priming Viso and maybe a combination of the two to get a ton of flavor in a cigar, but it's not blow your head off strong.
Okay.
Would you call that a coffee cigar?
I enjoy it with iced coffee.
Nice.
I'm a big, I drink iced coffee. I'm a typical New Englander. I drink iced coffee 12 months a year. So I love iced coffee and an iced tea. I think that the tannins and tea and coffee go
it's a natural match.
great with a cigar. So that Epernay would go really, really nicely with a cup of coffee. For Aganorsa Leaf, I really like their Corojo signature in the Corona Gorda size. That happens. That's probably my favorite of their line. 724 does a cigar called an 1874 in a Petite Corona format. It's made by Plasencia. Phenomenal.
They got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
Noel Rojas, the cigar that I really, really like with him is his 10th anniversary that he just came out with.
Okay, I haven't tried it.
I haven't had it yet.
It's awesome. That's a really, really good cigar.
I met him in Texas.
Bill.
Regular
Fun, great dude.
Bill.
regular production. It's probably with Rojas. I go back and forth between the Blue Bonnets and the Statement.
Blue Bonnet is a statement.
Yeah.
Great.
I would say probably the Statement and the Corona. I'm not the Statement. The Blue Bonnet, which is his Nicaraguan Corojo. I love Corojo, so anything that says Corojo on it, I'm probably going to gravitate towards it. So I like his Corojo in the 46 ring gauge, which is a Corona Gorda. For Toscano, I like the Master Aged 1, which is a bigger cigar. And the other interesting thing with Toscano is a lot of guys cut them in half.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You can cut them in half. So I like that cigar. Great cigar to share with a buddy.
Nice.
That's pretty much it. I think that's it. Did I miss anyone?
Nope. We're going to
sounds like
pick
you got them all.
Do you kind of have a go-to, like your daily smoke? Or does it just kind of depend on what you're doing?
The time of the day.
Okay.
I do like to start in the morning, and I kind of keep myself on a progression. I like to start milder in the morning. So in the morning, I would smoke generally either an Aganorsa Validation Connecticut, which I think is one of the best
I love that.
mild cigars out there.
Yep.
I also really, really like Rojas's Street Taco Carnitas. It's a Connecticut.
So
Yep.
Midday, I start getting into that Illusione Epernay, fire up some of the Toscanos. Toscano's got a new cigar out that's something different for them, only available to PCA participants. I don't know if you know the Premium Cigar Association.
Yep. We're a PCA house.
Yep. So they just came out with a new cigar for them, and it's actually it's air cured tobacco, which is something different for them. It's called a Brenta. That's a great midday cigar. And then later in the day, I'll break out like the Aganorsa Signature, Corojo, and Maduro, a little more full bodied. The Aganorsa Anniversario was phenomenal.
Love that stick.
Yeah,
that's a good statement.
the Maduro Anniversario smokes like a chocolate bar. It's just a great smoke.
I think that's like one of the best things you could say about a cigar. It's like it smokes like chocolate.
Yeah, and
yeah.
And the funny thing is, with a Maduro, it actually looks like chocolate. So you're smoking this thing, and you're like, "Wow!" And you start to like play games with yourself because you're wondering if the color of the wrapper, if it's putting a preconceived notion in your mouth. But it's like, damn, I think this really tastes like chocolate.
Right. Yeah. So here we go, John. Fully stocked lounge.
Here
right?
we go.
Mm-hmm.
You have $10 in your pocket. What are you smoking?
And it can't be something you got for free because you're
Yeah.
Hello, Marco.
Hey, Marco. The Willet has arrived.
The Willet
Good to
has
see you.
arrived.
How you doing, sir?
If we rub that, does Barbara Eden come out?
hopefully not current.
Yeah. Oh, isn't she dead?
No,
Is Barbara Eden still alive?
you better check.
I hope so.
I don't know.
I know she's been sitting in that bottle.
Who's in the Deadpool? Who's got Barbara Eden in the
know.
Deadpool?
Gonna find out.
It's Keith Richards and Barbara Eden for me.
Holy crap.
I mean, who would have thought the drummer for the Rolling Stones would have died before Keith Richards?
Right.
I mean, is Keith Richards alive?
Keith
Still
Richards
alive?
is that? Well, he's
Somewhat.
he's
I mean, if
Somewhat.
you look at him,
technically they
Yeah.
haven't buried him yet.
so
So
he'll probably outlive us all.
Barbara Eden's alive in '93.
God
Oh, yeah.
bless.
We're not hitting that now, but maybe later.
God bless her. And
All right.
$10. Fully stocked.
All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we got
Fully
derailed a
stocked.
little
We
bit.
got derailed. Sorry.
That's okay.
I
Fully
dreamed
stocked
of
humidor.
Genie. My bad.
I've only got $10. We're gonna not factor in taxes because that
Yeah, no,
that-
just
yeah,
$10.
yeah.
No taxes.
For $10 MSRP, I would smoke. I'll give you a couple. I would smoke. That Epernay is actually pretty close to $10, so some of the smaller sizes would qualify. Rojas Street Taco,
all day.
Barbacoa,
All day.
one of the best values out there, and any of the Aganorsa Validations, tremendous value.
Yeah.
Aganorsa also makes another line of cigars called JFR, which stands for Just
they're
for
good.
Retail.
They're good.
Yep.
And
Those
it's
are good.
honestly, it's the same tobacco that Aganorsa uses in their more expensive cigars, but the packaging is they strip down the packaging.
Okay.
Plain wooden box, plain band, so they're not spending a ton of money on packaging. Which,
So
by
it's
the
a
way,
no frills line.
it's no frills.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have them here.
Yeah.
And they're good. They're really good.
JFR are good, man.
So
Good shit.
yeah, that's
Used to be one of my go-tos.
yeah.
You have
What do you?
so-
What,
Yeah.
what are you smoking for 10? Not it doesn't have to be one of mine. But
$10?
what are you smoking for 10 spot in the humidor?
I like the New World by AJ.
AJ?
You can't go wrong with it.
Oh, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
AJ's a genius. He's good.
They have so much good stuff, though.
I think that's the interesting
I
part
do,
about
but
that.
that's one of their,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I think that's the interesting part about that question, though, too, is there's so many cigars out there at that $10 price point that are fucking
Yeah.
good. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
yeah.
like,
Well, look, I'll tell
it
you
makes it a
guys,
hard question.
I mean, I still smoke a ton of cigars on my own time.
Mm.
So I haven't forgotten what it's like to be a cigar consumer. There has never been a better time to be a cigar smoker in the United States than right now.
Mhm.
I mean, you literally, not every cigar is great, but you literally have to work to find a bad cigar.
True.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if somebody hands you a cigar and says, "Hey, smoke this," it may not be wheelhouse for you. It may not be right in your backyard, but man, you know, it's like, yeah, it's a good cigar.
You'll finish. You're not going to put it
a
out.
good cigar.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Damn, you could piggyback off that. Is there ever a cigar that you have put down that you didn't like?
Oh,
I'm sure there is. I got to think. I'll tell you. I'm not ducking this question. I got to think about that. 'Cause
So I'll tell you right off the
it's
rip.
been a while. It really has.
And it's very hard for me to put down a cigar. And there's two cigars that I actually put down. Bill was there for one. It was the live pack, the last one that you did. It was like smoking
freestyle live from Drew
the
Estate.
freestyle live.
okay.
It was like smoking cotton candy. I don't even know what it's going to be. It was
So
horrible,
sweet.
so sweet the whole
Sweet
way.
tip or just a sweet?
No, the whole way through. It was. I got a
Yeah.
quarter of the way
Wonder
through.
how the
I put
heck
it
they
down.
do that?
Same
That
here.
doesn't-
It was
And the
no.
and the Monte Cristo New Yorker, which one of my guys told me that was. He said, "Oh man, I sell these by the box." I bought the first one; it was $18. He gave me the second one for free, and it was still the same. It was like
That's
like
tough.
putting your tongue on a 9-volt battery. It was so out like
It's under fermented or
I
That's
don't
what it
know.
sounds like.
It was
Yeah.
so bad. I just
sounds
couldn't.
like
I
they
couldn't
rushed
finish
it. They didn't sit long enough.
Right,
Yeah.
but he said
I
there's
don't know.
guys that swear by it. I just couldn't do it. I
Oh,
couldn't
yeah,
do it.
everybody's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never
Everyone's
had
got it.
one. I have no idea. And
Well, you put.
I probably won't.
Did you smoke the other one, the live?
oh yeah,
You put it
I
down.
tried. Oh yeah,
Okay, that's
No.
that's your one.
that I can't smoke.
No way.
Can't smoke.
You know,
But I think
gotta
what you
the last cigar I smoked that I was like, I just can't do this. Man, I really got to think about that. And again, like I said, there's so many good cigars out there.
There's so many
it's
good
hard to find a
it's
bad
hard.
cigar.
It's, really, it's not easy.
And how many years have I known you? I think I met you in 2008.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
So, yeah.
And
Over 17 years. Fuck.
yeah,
that was quick math.
we were.
Come on.
almost.
You were
I was
with
hired in
Oliva.
2008.
I was
I-
with Oliva.
yeah.
You were at another retailer that
yes,
I don't know
I
if we're
was.
allowed to bring that up, but yeah.
somewhere
Bring
else,
that up.
somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but back then there weren't nearly as many great cigars. Nicaragua was just coming around at the time.
Yeah, yeah. And
And-
it's funny that, you know,
Things changed so quick.
yeah. And I've
Since
noticed that people are finally starting to come off are Cubans the best cigars in the world thing.
100%.
I
God,
don't
I
hear
hate
that.
that.
Not even
I don't
close.
hear that anymore. I hear it still, but
Yeah,
tell
not
it's like
as much.
It's going down.
You know what's like, you know, like nails on a chalkboard. It's like, okay, first of all, you got like, if you go somewhere and you light a cigar, you always got that guy. It's like, do you have an extra cigar? Right. So that's like, okay, number one, you're not a cigar guy. Cause if you were, you'd have one.
right. Yeah.
100%.
And then it's like, what do I smoke? Well, I only smoke Cubans. And it's
Oh.
like, well, which one?
Look at you.
Well, you know, no, I don't know. Oh my God. It's like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
So what I've started to hear is that people are starting, and I don't know if it's like something that they're trying to do formally to get this branding out there, but they're branding Esteli Nicaragua as ground zero for the cigar business right now. Not Havana, Cuba anymore.
yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I can't argue with that.
I can't either.
There's so
No, I
much
can't.
good stuff coming out of Esteli
Esteli,
and Nicaragua
100%.
in general. It's incredible. Yeah.
Now, do you see anything on the horizon? Maybe a Honduras, some stuff coming out of there.
Well, that Epernay that I told you about is actually made in Honduras.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a ton of good tobacco in Honduras. I just personally like Nicaraguan tobacco a little more.
Yeah.
But there's exceptions to every rule. Like I said, I've been talking
Right,
about the Epernay. I love the Epernay.
There are no absolutes.
Christian Aroa and his brother Gusto, they're growing some Corojo in Honduras. That's absolutely fantastic.
Nice.
Good stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely good tobacco in Honduras.
Mhm.
You know what's going on in the DR. Let's say Fuente La Aurora. There's great tobacco. Ernie Carrillo. There's great tobacco coming out of the DR. So like I said, I mean, you walk into when we first started smoking cigars I started smoking cigars in the 90s. So if you wanted a full-bodied cigar in the 90s, you had pretty much three options. You had Ernie Carrillo's original La Gloria Cubana that was made in Miami.
Okay.
You had some of the Fuente stuff, and you had Padron. And everything else was medium or mild to medium. And then,
But in Nicaragua came out,
Yeah.
and they started making some powerhouse cigars,
Some bangers.
which were really good.
Really good.
or a guy like Lito Gomez. Lito comes along, and La Gloria not La Gloria, Flor Dominicana
Yep.
started as a mild brand, and he saw that everybody was making mild cigars, but he saw an opportunity to make something more full-bodied. And now, Lito's making high-octane cigars. His biggest problem is he can't make enough of them.
True story.
And he told us that personally.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's a great hobby to be involved in. And the other thing I like about it, like I said, I get along with all the other reps. When reps get together, we're trading cigars back and forth. Try this, try that. Hey, have you tried this? It's just a lot of fun, and it's just I said it's a great time to smoke cigars.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
100%.
What we got on the horizon?
Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's frustrating because there's so much good stuff coming out.
Yeah.
You can't have everything.
I was going to
But
say, for a shop, it's got to be.
It's difficult.
Guys,
And
I was talking to Ryan Shepard's with me, who's the sales manager at Illusione, and we were talking in the car on the way over. And that's exactly what I was trying to say is I totally lost where I was going with this. I had something almost profound to say.
Oh, man.
No. So when I go into a shop that's opening and they're like, yeah, we're going to open a cigar shop. And I'm like, well, how big's your humidor going to be? Oh, our humidor's going to be 10 feet by 10 feet. It's not going to be, it's probably not going to be big enough.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, it's probably going to have to be about 3 times that size. Oh, no, I that's crazy. What do you mean? It's like, you don't understand that you're opening a cigar shop. You take a snapshot of what's out there currently and what you just said about what's on the horizon. So you stock a humidor and 3 months go by and 10 other cigars came out onto the market. And you're like, maybe you don't want all 10 of them, but damn it, I do want 3 of them.
Right.
Where are you going to put them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now you're playing cigar Tetris, and you just
Cigar Tetris. I love that.
you can't build. You cannot build a humidor big enough because it's not like I said. It's not just what you think you want in your humidor. It's the stuff that you are definitely going to want in your humidor. That hasn't even been thought of yet.
You're right.
So,
you're right.
Yeah. And then
so I like to tell people because they're like, "Well, you're a cigar rep, so of course you're going to say that." And I say, "Well, yeah, but you know what? I may be a salesman, but some of my lies are true. You need a bigger humidor."
Right.
Yeah.
and then palates change. It's like, everybody's got their own cigar journey. It's like where you started, where you go, you kind of figure it out. It's like, do I like full body, medium body? Do I like light? Everybody's kind of, I know speaking from my journey, it's like where you started, where you end up at, and then what your wheelhouse is, it changes. It's not the same. It's like the cigars I started with 10 years ago, maybe I don't smoke all of them now.
Yeah.
Might be 1 or 2 that stayed, but it's a fun trip.
But sometimes they change too.
They do.
Yeah.
Like good example of that is when Christian Aroa was with Camacho.
Right.
I used to love Honduran cigar, Corojo. His cigars were the best, in my opinion, back probably when I first met you.
Camacho years though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, he was making fuller bodied stuff. Not a lot of people out there were making them as strong back then. And, but since then, things with Honduras have changed. Now, a lot of, in my opinion, the better cigars are coming out of Nicaragua.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
It's hard to. I think by and large, like if you surveyed like 100 brands, I think the majority of the cigars that you would like would probably come from Nicaragua. That's not to say that the stuff coming out of Honduras and the DR are not good cigars. No. I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, I have nothing but respect for the Fuente family. I always loved the way Carlito blended, so I'll never say a bad word about the Fuente. In fact, I go out of my way to say nice things about the Fuente family. But if you ask me, it's like, well, what do you think of Dominican tobacco? I'd be like, well, with the exception of what Fuente does,
Yeah.
it's kind of milder. It's kind of sweeter.
Now, is that a tobacco thing or is that a blender thing?
I think it's a little bit of both. Because
Okay.
I don't, with the exception of Opus, I don't, I think and again,
It's all opinion
a
driven.
cigar blender is going to tell you a lot. They're never going to tell you everything.
Yeah. It's like asking your grandma for the recipe to the cake.
Yeah, it's the secret sauce.
Yeah.
So I think, I think a company like Fuente, with the exception of Opus, that they showcase that as a Dominican Puro. I think they're probably bringing in tobacco from other places. There's one of the companies I work for. I'm not going to say who it is. I know that they sell tobacco to the Fuente family. I don't know where it goes, but it's I like hearing that. I'm working for a company and somebody who I respect thinks enough of the tobacco to buy a ton of it.
Yeah.
Or multiple tons of it. So, but if
And I can guess who that is.
Yeah.
What about Davidoff?
What about Davidoff?
You, so we're
we
talking
go.
Dominican cigars.
Davidoff.
Back when Henke was the master blender.
I've smoked a few Davidoffs in my time. I think Davidoff has done a great job of
Marketing.
Well, no. Back in the day when we were first starting this, Davidoffs were mild. It's like, I can, and at the time, it's like that's like a $15 cigar. Who's ever going to smoke a $15 cigar? Now it's like $50.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. But anyway, it was an expensive cigar back in the day, but it was mild. So the guys that smoked a lot of cigars were like, hang on, Yankee, checking the score. Oh, still Cleveland. Fucking
Still
Cleveland.
1-2.
Damn it. Fucking Cleveland. So, anyway, I think they did a really nice job of reading the market. And over the last, I'd say 10 years, they've started to come out with some stuff that's a little more challenging to the more experienced palates. So I think they've done a really nice job with that. Look, is a cigar worth $30, $50, $750? Bill's going like this, and honestly, I would probably go like this if I were talking about my personal budget.
Fair.
But at the end of the day, is a cigar worth $50? Only you can answer that. If you like the cigar, and let's be honest, some guys, $50 is like 25 cents to me.
Get it.
If you've got the budget and smoking Davidoff makes you feel good, hey, have at it, man. It's a free country.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I get
Bill, you look angry about Davidoff.
Not angry.
Not angry?
Not
Get
angry
him on there for a couple.
at all. But
That and the Davidoff
Sure.
regional manager bought me
What's
a
his
beer
name?
last month, so I
mean,
have to say
you could say the same about Padron.
Padron. Look, Padron's another family that I've got a lot of respect for. Padron. What I love about Padron is, I think if I went back to school and I needed to do a master's thesis,
You'd go to Padron.
I would use Padron as a case study of how you can be successful without doing any of the things that a consultant would tell you to be you needed to do to be successful. It's like
They kind of they're
do
like
their own thing.
They got it going.
Yeah.
They have no reps, no cigar reps. They sell.
they're like Eddie
Sell
KGB
their own.
from Rounders. It's like that's it.
Brian from Illusione is stepping to the table.
Hey, Brian.
What did I say
Brian.
wrong?
I really didn't want to listen, so
Here, just
Hi, Brian.
pull that down to your face a little bit.
There you go.
good.
So, Brian, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Ryan.
So, give you a little history. Ryan and I worked together at Oliva years ago. Ryan was a rep out west. I was a rep and a manager here in the east. And Ryan's done pretty damn well for himself. Much better than me, by the way. And he is now the national sales manager for Illusione. You're the guy at Illusione.
You're
Vice
the man.
President of Sales and Marketing.
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah. That's
Various janitorial services.
Exactly.
titles around. Okay.
All right.
So
How
tell
long
us-
you been with Illusione?
Right at 2.5 years.
Okay.
Okay.
Before that, I was with STG for around 10 years. And then I was with Oliva for about 2. That's how I got in the business.
Wow,
You don't look
STG
old
for
enough.
10 years?
You don't look old enough to be in the cigar
I know.
industry for 12 years.
What did you
39,
got your
like
job at
12.
16? I mean, what are you talking about?
Dropped out of high school to get in this game, Various false IDs.
McLovin over here.
So what got you into the cigar business at such an early age?
Well, it was funny. I was in the mattress business before, so I worked for a big company called
That
Mattress
makes
Firm.
sense.
Yeah, I look like it. I actually look like a mattress salesman. So
I don't even know what that means.
Sometimes you just let it go.
I'm telling you, as big as the counts with the porno factories in San Jose or San
Diego, but close
in the
enough.
valley.
Okay, that makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
So I was in a new business development out there, and I was bouncing around all over the country, and a big cigar smoker. So I made friends with reps along the way because I would hang out the local shops or wherever I was doing it, and made friends with the rep from Davidoff. And one day I decided I want to do something I liked, and I said, "Hey, are there any openings?" And he hooked me up with a couple opportunities, and one of those happened to be with Oliva. So I went to an interview, and they said you can have Philadelphia or the Pacific Northwest in Northern California. So went out west,
There you go.
and then the rest is history.
How was the cigar industry out west? Because they're a little bit tighter, obviously, on some of their regulations and stuff. Did you find it different than?
Well, it's very different in terms of like, especially like the Pacific Northwest versus California is two different things, right?
Fair enough.
So up there, there's key players, like the tribal lands that have no taxes. They can be competitive as can be. So the cigar culture is rich per capita, I would say, in Portland and call it Seattle, almost anywhere that you've seen based on how many people smoke cigars for the population.
Okay.
California is a different monster. Different types of business, but it's still one of the biggest cigar markets in the country. And that's, you have a lot of distribution channels. You have a lot of different things out there that cover the entire United States versus just California. So the business is different out there. But out here, it's fun.
Oh,
That's my
fun
first,
over
this is my
here.
first time in Connecticut today ever. in my life.
I'm sorry.
Welcome to the scene.
Yeah, no, it's like I got to check
Welcome.
2 of the last
Before
four.
anyone asks, I did bring him for pizza in New Haven. He's had his New Haven
Oh,
pizza.
okay, yeah.
Where in New Haven?
Yeah.
We were going to do Sally's
Stuttering.
and Pepe's, but we could only get into Pepe's.
Okay.
Fair.
So-
The lines were a little long, but yeah, Pepe's,
Yeah.
it blew my mind. This is the best pizza I've ever had,
Yeah.
hands down.
We know.
That'll happen.
We know.
We did this.
It's funny the fights you'll hear though.
Oh,
yeah.
my God, yeah.
Just in New Haven alone, like not even that New Haven is good
Oh,
pizza, but just
between-
the pizzerias in New Haven alone, like
Pepe's,
between
Sally's,
Modern, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
no, I
Bar.
posted the check-in. They was like, "Oh, did you try bar? Did you?"
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Modern.
yeah,
You don't
yeah.
even know. I'm like, I didn't say it was the best.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
I always say, if you want to start a fist fight in a bar in New Haven, let's talk about pizza.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God. It's like they talked about your mom. It's like, whoa.
What's like down in Philly with Pat's and Geno's?
Yeah.
Like, who's got the best? And by the way,
With or without.
do you have any listeners down there? Because I have a very strong opinion of that.
We'll say no.
Okay,
We'll say no. Let it go. Let it go.
cheesesteaks are for tourists in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Philadelphia's contribution to the culinary world is the Italian roast pork. Have you ever had an Italian roast pork sandwich?
I can't say I've had one in Philly.
Next time you're in a quote unquote cheesesteak place in Philly, if you see Italian roast pork, it'll change your life. I know Tony Luke's has a great one. They roast their own pork, and it's just like a spicy pork. They slice it up thin. They make their own bread. So fresh roll, thinly sliced pork, sautéed broccoli rabe, and a ton of garlic, and
It's making me hungry now.
I got a full tank of gas.
sharp
so,
provolone. So anyway, that has nothing to do with cigars, but I mean, cigar guys like to eat. So I'm
Yes,
telling you,
we
if
do.
you're in Philly, Italian roast pork is the way to go. Leave the cheesesteaks to the tourists. You can get a cheesesteak at D'Angelo's when you get home.
not the same.
It's the same. It's just a steak on a roll.
People in Philly, he's only kidding. Maybe.
I don't think so. So anyway, so you've been with Illusione for about 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
What was the change? What made you change from? You said you were at STG.
Yeah, so I basically was managing the Western region, the 7 reps out there, basically everything west of the Mississippi. And it just, the opportunity came. And Dion was one of my first customers when I was with Oliva, who I kind of developed a friendship with. And that was 12 plus years, So him and I have stayed close, and the opportunity actually opened. And I went and visited him, and I said, "What do you think?" And I'd rather, kind of get on this side of the business, going to Nicaragua more, understanding, blending what goes into, securing materials, all these things that I've never got exposed to. So it's a big learning trip, and it's been pretty cool. And it kind of reinvigorated my passion versus, numbers and spreadsheets.
I was going to say, it's got to be really different because, STG is, and as far as the cigar world goes, it's a massive corporation.
Yeah.
Really. So to be with Illusione, who's more of a, niche.
Yeah, and
all cigars is niche, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's all handmade, but it's just what goes into it, and
Yep.
like Dion's commitment to making sure the materials are right, making sure the construction's right. Like he really dives into it. I'd say harder than anybody in this business, and a testament is my passport book's full now. So
Well, tell us about that first trip to Nicaragua, because as a cigar smoker and someone who's in the industry, you have a certain perspective, but once you're actually down there and the whole factory and farm and everything, what was that experience like to see it firsthand up front and deal with that?
well. The Nicaragua trip was different. I've been like in the Dominican, with STG and like saw kind of the operations and, the rolling the galeras and everything like that. But going to Nicaragua and like being, just dealing with tobaccos, like in the aging barns, the barrancas and everything, and learning how to grade tobaccos and what to look for. And, Dion's thought process of this, that, and the other. But, just being there, it's just a different world because, sometimes you got water, sometimes you don't,
Yeah.
So, it's a different kind of grind, and it makes you really appreciate what you got here too. But at the same time, you appreciate what they have. So it's kind of cool.
Gotcha.
so as someone that is working for the company, working for Illusione, how does that relationship work with a broker like John? Like how does that build?
Well, you want to take that first? Well, from my end, I mean, when I'm talking to Illusione, I mean, let's not. Ryan's the boss. If I want to keep doing this, I gotta do what he expects of me. So part of the challenge of being a broker is I've got 5 people like Ryan, and it's like it's a constant balancing act.
Okay.
So from my end, so yeah, he's guys like Ryan, by and large, very clear about what they expect. It's like, do ABC and, hopefully at the end of the year, everything works out.
Nice.
Yeah. And in terms of, being a principal at, in the sales organization with these guys that have, 5-6 brands, you have to win the mind space. You have to make sure that you give them every single tool necessary to do what they need to do within reason. Obviously, we're not vertically integrated or anything like that. So we've got some limitations in terms of that, but we put that back into the product to hopefully when they get it out, it turns and it stays on the shelf.
Nice. Do you guys have any in-house reps, or are you guys all brokers throughout the country?
It's all a broker network for us in the U.S. And then I kind of handle some key accounts and some pockets and things like that are just out of the way, but that's pretty much how we run it.
Do you guys have a footprint overseas at all, or is it just in the U.S.?
Yeah, certain areas. We do well in kind of these newer markets that are emerging. Like everybody's, I'm not trying to get too philosophical in terms of my business philosophy, but, everybody's fighting for Europe and everybody's putting all they got into Europe. There's so much other stuff going on right now. If you look at geopolitics, you look at some things that are going on, there's markets right now that I'm not going to disclose because it's my secret sauce right now, but places you wouldn't think of
Untapped
that are doing really well for us.
Okay.
So that's a lot of difference in my philosophy versus some of the other companies.
And I can just tell you what's happening in Europe and why everybody's in a rush to get to Europe is they can't get Cuban cigars in Europe because they're all going to Hong Kong because you can't make a cigar expensive enough for Hong Kong. They're like, it's $200. I really want to pay $300 for this cigar. Okay.
yeah.
So there's not a lot of Cuban cigars in Europe. So these cigar shops in Europe are like, well, we're not just going to go out of business. So they're sourcing cigars from other places. And what they're finding out is that people actually are like, yeah, maybe these Cubans really aren't all that. So that's kind of what's going on in Europe right now.
Do you find it puts a strain on your brand trying to get now more cigars out overseas and maybe not being able to ship as many to the States, or is it?
No, in terms of our philosophy, for the most part, those people kind of cut their things separate and it's done separate.
Gotcha.
So that way it's not really interfering with U.S. stock or, things of that nature.
So you have a bifurcated position. You have a bifurcated position where it's like,
don't use big words here.
Sorry.
Somebody showed up tonight.
What are we doing?
I mean, the name of the podcast is
points.
Ash Chat. We're not fucking.
I did the whole Indiana thing.
I'm sorry. I read a book. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ. Shit's different. That better?
See?
Yes, I understand that one.
Shit's different in Europe. That's what we're trying to say here. Don't worry about that shit. It's all different over there.
Yeah.
Jackass.
We went off the rails for a hot minute.
Why not? These people are listening. Let's listen to these guys talk about cigars. These people don't have a lot of going on, so we can kill some time.
Yeah, 100%.
Nobody's got a date tonight. Let's just keep doing what we're doing.
I think yours just showed up. I just saw Jay come in, so
He did.
yeah.
I have a lovely wife at home, which is another reason this is boggling my mind that I'm sitting here right now. But anyway.
Choices.
So, Ryan, what's your favorite out of your portfolio right now? Like, what do you like? If you're sitting and chilling, what are you smoking?
Right now, which I blow with the wind.
Oh, fuck me. A double play.
One off black and tan. That's what I've been smoking the most of. It's a limited edition we came out with at PCA. Uses tobacco that's never been used in cigars before besides our group of 5, which we have here tonight. But that cigar, I don't know. It's all I can smoke now.
Home run for you.
Yeah, hands down.
Right. Full body.
And you said that was a limited?
Yeah,
That
one off
sucks.
black and tan. So, but we'll be using it more, and we'll probably do some leases every single year with it.
Okay.
So it'll be pretty cool.
And where's that tobacco?
Aganorsa.
I love those guys.
Yeah, clearly I heard you earlier. I'm like, oh, he's
talking
going
about
all his
secret
brands.
sauce. I mean,
By the way, that group of 5 has Aganorsa tobacco.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, no, same.
I smoked my first one yesterday. It
kicked
blew,
him in
blew
the
it out of the park.
yeah, kicked him in the head.
I
I was
loved
here
it.
yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it.
I was like, Bill, he's
We got
like,
some in the next one after this.
kicking my ass.
So good.
I love that cigar.
Yeah.
I got to watch that from inception to finished product. So that was like,
Were you
First
part
thing
of
I
the
watched
blending
is-
process?
no, I'm just there to make sure that, we don't go too far off the rails for marketability.
Quality control.
he's like, Dion's like, hey, gutter palate, make sure that's okay. And I'm like, cool. He's like, if it's good, then you gutter palate.
Hey, there's a nickname.
And how long was that cigar aged before it was shipped?
That 2
Okay. Because
like
that
long.
the cello on that,
Yeah.
dark.
Same as the one off black and tan. Yeah.
Good. Wow.
Everybody's like, how long has this been
So
around?
good. Yeah.
I will say that I've only been with Ryan and with Illusione for a couple of months, but sometimes when you're working for a cigar company, there are some things that you like to hear. And I was with Ryan earlier today, and somebody said, "Yeah, I got a box of these. I forget what they were, like a Habano Lancero,
Yeah.
and they weren't really what they should be." And he said, "You know what? Hang on,
Hang on. All right.
and we scored it."
We got a double. We
So
got a double.
what he said, what I really, really appreciated, he's like, you know what? The company that made those cigars for us for a couple of months there, they weren't doing it right. We sent them all back. And I said, you know what?
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear as a guy that's got to be the front line of
Yeah.
that company. So that made me feel really good.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay Falanga's here with our dinner. What'd you smoke for us tonight?
You know what?
Damn it.
Jay,
We're kind of hungry.
Jay, you
You
want
got any?
you want to jump in?
You got the egg?
Come here.
Yeah. So anyway,
We're going to bring Jay in.
yeah. All right, Jay, I got to sit down because I got to go. I got to change the subject a little bit.
We'll get it.
All right.
Give Jay a second to sit on down.
Yeah. Jay Brisket.
Oh, yeah.
I used to know him as Jay Fowl.
Yeah, it was
back
Jay
in the
Fell
day.
back in the
So
day.
anyway, here's why I'm a little nervous that we're both sitting here.
Okay.
Do you remember the last time you and I sat down and watched a Yankee game together?
No. It was,
That would have been 04. And you
Yeah.
remember what happened in 04.
yeah, I'd like to forget that. Yeah.
I'm a superstitious man, Jay. I hope we're not doing this all over again.
No,
Jay,
I don't
go
think
away.
we are.
All right, we're okay?
No, because we're not up by 3 yet. So.
Okay, yeah. All right. So I figure I got to get out of Connecticut by tonight, which I will be. I won't be back until at least the World Series, so we should be okay. But I'm very superstitious. Jay and I actually used to hang out in a cigar shop way back in the day. We used to watch a lot of Yankee games. We've actually been to a few Yankee games together.
Yep.
And we had the unfortunate occurrence of being in a cigar shop watching the Yankees squander a 3-0 ALCS lead to the dreaded Red Sox.
Yep.
It sucked.
That-
Possibly the low point of my life.
Damn. I
Yeah.
don't know if it was that low,
That was tough.
but I have
Well, you
nightmares
gotta remember,
about that.
I was single back then. I didn't have a wife. I didn't have a child. So, I mean, I'm a single guy. That was the low point of my life. Oh, for it. Anyway. So, cigars. Jay, here we are.
Welcome. So what I jump into, Not much. We were just talking about Ryan and his time at Illusione and STG before that.
Have a Rex.
Oh, thank you, sir.
No problem.
So how what was your position over at STG? How different was that from?
I learned a massive business skill set there. I'm learning how to do things and analyze data and all of that, and look at trends and really figure out how to come up with solutions that are based in reality. So you learned a lot, but it was very, like I said, spreadsheet, PowerPoint oriented, and it's just like to an extreme.
Yeah.
So, but it was good to learn all the how to build programs and things like that, and that's kind of what I've tried to bring to this company, a little bit more, somewhat of that idea, working the different channels, and how to make an impact there. So it gave me a skill set that was very important for this role, for sure.
Nice, very cool. Going back to the Aganorsa thing, you mentioned you have some Aganorsa in that group of 5. I've noticed a bunch of Corojo. Are those all Corojo from Aganorsa? Do you guys use them a lot?
Yeah. So basically, Dion, that's how he started. Aganorsa tobacco. If you look at kind of the key components of our core, it's universal down to the farm, down to the cutting, down to the priming. So basically, he's used this same lot, same cutting and primings, and he grades the tobaccos from there and takes the best out of it. So that's the Corojo 99s and the Criollo 98s, that is the core of what we do. And then obviously we have now expanded out to where we have like a Habano now, and the Maduro, things like that. But that core is there. And that's, a lot of them are produced at Aganorsa, the tobacco's Aganorsa. So, but it's Dion, the one that pulls apart the components out of, they're the biggest tobacco grower, I think, in Nicaragua, not in the world, but in Nicaragua. So that's a lot to go through and process and grade. And so it is his unique spin on everything where it's him. So
yeah, and cool. I got to give Dion some props. I've never actually met Dion face to face, but I got to give him some props. Paul Palmer, president of Aganorsa Tobacco, was up here traveling with me about a year ago, and he swore up and down, and I'm sure he'll say this today, that Dion has the best palate of anybody he's ever met. I was like, wow, that's a bold statement. and quite frankly, when Ryan called me, I remembered that, and I said, you know what? Yeah, I can work for this company. For a guy like Paul Palmer to say that, yeah, I can work for this company.
And so as a broker, do you find it, you've got multiple lines, do you find it easier to work with a company like Illusione, who uses tobacco from another brand that you
I think it helps because repping another company, Aganorsa is very, very good about giving me a lot of knowledge about the different tobaccos that Aganorsa uses in their cigars, but also grows. So I think it helps me because I can shift gears. When we're talking about Corojo, it's one linear conversation because it's the same tobacco, or very, very close to it. And I'll tell you, I've the first thing I think about when I work for a company and I know who not the parent company, but I know where they're getting tobacco is, I got to smoke 2 of these cigars back to back because I got to figure out what's going on here. And what I'm really checking, and it didn't happen, is I want to know because this happens, guys, I'm telling tales out of school, there are companies that they just slap a same cigar, slap a different band on it, and push it out. So I want to make sure that that's not happening. And I can tell you that with Illusione, 100% these are Dion's blends. And that's because I've done the Pepsi challenge. I've tasted it back to back with an Aganorsa Corojo or, an HVC or some other stuff. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on there. And they're different cigars. Same tobacco, different cigars.
Yeah. A lot of it comes down to like you're saying, the blender and their palate and how they're putting everything together. It's you start with the same ingredients, but you're either going to come out with a cake or a cookie.
It's a chef. Yeah.
Yeah.
We all know how to make chocolate cake, but I can't make chocolate cake like Emeril Lagasse or Bobby Flay or whoever else. It's, somebody's got to be driving the bus and, making sure we're not just taking eggs, chocolate and whatnot and just throwing it in a bowl.
So, John, I've known you for quite a while, so you've worked for a number of different cigar companies.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah. But being sort of like witnessing the process at all these places, have you noticed that like each of these companies doing anything substantially different from like field to cigar, or is it just a matter of doing the same thing with just a little tweak?
Well, I think the answer is yes. There are definitely some proprietary things that each cigar company does that's different. Do I know what those are? No. Why are they going to tell me?
Well, it always.
You can, like I said, there's definitely, and you can pick out different tobaccos based on, there are companies that can buy the same raw leaf, and their curing and fermentation process, they're doing stuff different. They're either putting, the batoon, which is the moisture, the wet component that they put on a polone to get a leaf activated so that it ferments. Some companies put different things in the batoon, whether it's lime juice, rum. I've heard all kinds of different things, but they're not. They kind of keep that shit close to the vest.
Oh, I got you. So you never come across something where you're like, oh. You do it like that?
Yeah, no. And again, I'm sure that in Nicaragua, those conversations take place internally. But again, they're not going to tell the gringos about that stuff. There's magic.
But it makes such a great story, when you get together and you're like, oh, they do this so much differently than this guy or whatever.
I wouldn't say it's so much differently, because the making this product probably hasn't changed much in the last 300-400 years.
Right.
1600s, I think they started, curing and fermenting tobacco and rolling cigars. So the actual process really hasn't changed fundamentally in all that time. There are some tweaks that have happened along the way, like Oliva. They developed a system where they're using probes and putting electronic probes in each of the polones so that they've got like a master control where they can see polone in row, the 12th, polone in row 12 is at 128 degrees. So we got to take it apart and reassemble it so that it doesn't cook itself out of existence. So, little things like that have changed. Technology, the cigar molds now are, plastic, and they literally never wear out, which has put a lot of mold companies out of business because there's no obsolescence.
Right.
You don't have to replace. So stuff like that's changed. But like I said, the little tweaks with, we may add this, we may do this, we may, build a polone with these two different kinds of tobaccos. And there's all little things that they do, but like I said, they keep that stuff close to the vest. One of my brands right now, he's experimenting with a new way to assemble the cigars. He's working on doing something with the entubado, which is rolling of cigars. And he sent up a couple of samples to me, and I'm actually kind of excited about that. I can't talk about it because there's still some stuff out there, but I smoked these samples. I actually cut one open so I could say, all right, what's this guy doing? And he's got something. He's got a new method of putting cigars together, and stuff like that. But again, even him, we was like, hey, there's a new method, there's a new way of doing this until I get everything tightened up and, trademarked if you have need be. I can't tell you everything, but I want you to at least smoke these and tell me what you think.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah, it is.
Cool, guys. Well, I don't want to keep you too long. I noticed got a couple guys up the booth over there anyway, so I know you gotta go work and do your thing. But thank you guys for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Did I answer all your questions?
I think so. I mean, I came in unprepared, so I think so.
I totally came in unprepared. I don't.
I told you we were going to Shanghai you into this.
You could have reminded me. It was months ago. Yeah. I'll do a podcast. Why not? We'll do a podcast. I showed up tonight.
You're a
They're
radio
like, hey,
guy. You just jump
Jay
right
said
in
you're
and
going
go.
to be on a podcast. Well, I guess I'm on a podcast.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway,
thank you, gentlemen.
Smoke more cigars. That's all I say.
Yeah.
Cut one end, light the other. If it works out for you, please do it again. That's all we ask.
I like that. I'm going to steal that.
Please do.
Gentlemen, thank you for the time.
Thank you
It's
so
been a
much.
pleasure.
Thanks, Dave.
Learned a lot. Thank you.